In this video, we're going to be talking about whether you can still use a Blackberry Torch in 2021. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So this Blackberry actually came out in 2010, which is around the same time as the iPhone 4. So back in the day, this would have been going up against that, which I guess at this point, Blackberry was still a bit more dominant in the market, although I guess they were starting to kind of go downhill, but this is the point when Blackberries still were in the game.
It's actually pretty amazing to get hands-on with this Blackberry Torch. I really wanted one of these phones back in the day. It's got that cool sliding feature where you got the full touchscreen, slide it up, and you got the keyboard.
One of the great things about probably any Blackberry, and especially the Blackberry Torch, is the keyboard. The keyboard actually works really well, and having the option to use touchscreen and use the full keyboard really does make a difference, especially if you're one of those people who don't really like using touchscreen devices. And I guess this is a brilliant thing about this phone. So I only paid £20 for this Blackberry Torch on eBay, and when you think about it, you can't go wrong at all for £20. And this is something where if you're interested in old Blackberries, especially from just for the kind of nostalgia, or if you want to still use one as a secondary phone, you can generally pick used ones very cheap on things like eBay. So this is probably a benefit, and this is why we like viewing them, especially because they're so cheap to grab. And it's crazy that these are once hundreds of pounds and now they are so cheap. So the Blackberry Torch actually has a 5 megapixel camera, so certainly not the best, but not the worst either. And for a phone that's over 10 years old now, but actually 11 years old, it still looks okay. So to be honest, I thought it would look a lot worse than what it actually does. So that is a big plus for Blackberry there. So one little thing which is actually quite cool about this phone is when you slide it up, you would probably think that the camera is going to be at the top, but it's actually kind of in the middle of the phone. And this is really good because it means that it still works even if you haven't got the keyboard out. So again, it just makes it a little bit more versatile and means that you can use it in lots of different ways. One of the great things, especially about these older Blackberries, is some of the games that come pre-installed on there. And one of the best things on lots of Blackberries is Brick Breaker, which is a fun game, and even if you can't really download anything in 2021, the fact that you can still play Brick Breaker, for me personally, is a big plus. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. So one of the downsides of this phone is the screen resolution isn't that great, and you can only really watch things at about 360. Now, while that isn't great, one of the good things is because the playback is generally not very good, it means that it's a little bit faster. So you win some, you lose some, but for a phone that came out in 2010, I guess what do you really expect? Even then, the screen resolution wasn't that great, but it still works, so that's a plus. So one of the interesting things about this phone is that they actually kind of tried to bring it back a few years later with the Blackberry Priv, which was actually running Android. Unfortunately, that phone didn't do as great as expected, but it's kind of cool that this design still lived on a few years later. Now, one of the really big downsides of using this in 2021 is the lack of support, especially with the Blackberry operating system. This is something we tend to see in most Blackberries, but one thing that really isn't great is on some of the other Blackberries, you can actually use things like the Amazon App Store, which you do not have access to on this phone, meaning you are very much restricted to what you can download on there now. Another downside is the internet does still work, but to be honest, it's quite slow. And in a way, this is a downside if you wanted to use it in 2021. Even if you're using it as a second phone, you have to bear in mind the software is quite slow and sluggish. I mean, something to expect considering that they don't make this software anymore or do not support it, but something just to bear in mind even if you wanted to use it as a second phone or something like that. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you can give the video a thumbs up. It really is appreciated. And if you're new to our channel, we make videos around Blackberries like this one alongside some other videos such as electric scooters and much more tech related stuff. This was Jack from Tech Fusions. Thanks so much for watching, and I catch you guys in the next Tech Fusions video.